Interview. This is State Assembly District 35. We have Charles Clark on my far left and Brent Jones closest to me. At this time, we'll start to proceed. You have a minute and a half to let us know about your platform and the reasons you're running, and we'll start on the far end with Charles.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Clark, Charles J. Clark Jr. Tell you a bit about myself. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but I've been a Nevada native for 10 years now. My career started in law enforcement and excelled in federal law enforcement as well. 18 years of law enforcement that I had to get before transpired into my current career, which is teaching right now. My platform I'm looking at is to better Nevada schools, for one. Two, create due process for victims of crimes. And three, to help the business, small business programs, small businesses grow, so our communities can grow as well.
Thank you. Brent.
Okay, my name is Brent Jones. I'm originally from California. I practice law in California, but as a businessman, it's hard. I had a business in California, but California was so suppressive to business. You may have heard it's ranked the last in the nation now, so I moved here to Nevada over 10 years ago. And the company now that I have is called Real Water. Some of you may have seen it. It's a local premium water. We sell Whole Foods, whatnot. As a businessman, I got to the point where it would be easier just to be a business person and just make money. But I have children, and I looked and I said, our country is going in such a wrong direction that I have to get involved, because if I look 20 years from now and said to my kids, and God forbid we're to fall apart, and they say, well, Dad, what did you do to help this situation? I said, nothing. Then that would be a good deal. So my platform is first of all, we've got to get rid of regulation. I know firsthand what it's like to make a payroll. I know firsthand what it's like to have to deal with government bureaucrats constantly. We've got to lower the regulation and keep the taxes low. That's what a good business environment will bring business back to Nevada. Second is, our schools are terrible. As you know, they're ranked among the bottom, and yet funding is in the middle compared to the other states. I believe, and I've been studying this, that school choice is a solution. The unions have been saying, just give us more money, give us more money, give us more money for years, as long as I can remember, and yet the performance keeps falling down. As a businessman, I know it gets to accountability. You have to be accountable, and if the unions don't allow for any accountability, then the school system's not going to be solved. That's why I'm for school choice, whether it be trigger options, which in California they've actually passed, or the charter schools, which are phenomenal. Ultimately, I prefer to have vouchers, but I know we have a situation here in the state of Nevada where they can't be approved right off, but it take a little bit longer to get that. But definitely the trigger and the charter schools. And then on that segue, there's a little thing that they're calling the margins tax, which the schools or the teachers unions are promoting as a school initiative. It's really margins tax, and I'll tell you, as a businessman, if that margins tax goes through, it's going to even drive more businesses out of the state. And most people just don't understand how that works to create a good business environment. So definitely the business environment taxes, the school choice, and then of course I'm very strong on the Second Amendment. I'm sure you guys have a reality on that. We have to make sure that we can own guns, not be like New Jersey and New York, where you have all these requirements to be able to own a gun, which makes it almost to where you can't own a gun. And then also I'm for the Fourth Amendment, getting rid of all this NSA snooping. We've got to bring our own country back, our own state back, and get the government out of our lives, whether it be NSA snooping or whether it be the BLM trying to run control on everything too. So basically, smaller government, more personal accountability, responsibility. That's my comment.
All right, thank you. And we'll start with the panel. We'll start on my right with Jim.
Okay, so this question's for both of you. Mr. Jones, are taxes too high in this state, or are they about right? And if you think they're too high, would you cut them? And if you cut them, who's the first government employees you would fire?
I think taxes are always too high, to be honest with you. If you look, it's an erosion that's just been consistent ever since our country was founded. I mean, the Tea Party, I think, was just a couple % tax on tea, and now look at, we pay 35% corporate tax. Luckily, we don't have any state income tax, which is a good reason that people come here. But we have the sunset taxes, which were supposed to be sunsetted. They didn't get sunsetted, so right away, all that would go, which is a bunch of small taxes having to do with things, various things like DMV fees, etc. So I would definitely want to stop the sunset taxes. I also signed the Taxpayer Protection Pledge, if you're familiar with that, which says I will not raise taxes, so I enthusiastically signed that. So definitely, we're overtaxed. It's being more efficient. And there's a number of things that could be, even like if you look at the schools, the money's going into administration. If you look at Transparency Nevada, if you had a chance to look at that, there's a group called NPRI, which has also, they have a website called Transparent Nevada. You've probably heard that North Las Vegas is having major problems, right? Well, their director who runs the library in North Las Vegas gets paid $478,000 a year to run a library in North Las Vegas. I think that's a good start right there. So you can look across the Transparent Nevada, and we have, I think, over 2,000 employees in the state government. Here in Clark County, they're making over $200,000 a year, easy. So those are the types of things.
Mr. Clark, a little bit different question for you. Does it frustrate you that you consistently hear candidates say that there's too much money being put into education or it's not efficient enough? As a teacher, what's your stance on that? Are we funding it right? Could it be more efficient? Or is it just a platitude that a lot of right-wingers try to use to get elected?
You pretty much asked the question. It needs to be funded right. And two, a lot of politicians do use it as a way in to be elected. However, I see it firsthand. Just the other day, I had to spend my money, which come out of my check, which is not much, to provide supplies to my students, papers, calculators, markers to work right on the easy board to explain my lesson plan I'm giving. And yes, we may have a projector to put our information on the board, but sometimes that may not work. The air in my one class is broken right now. It's been broken for a week and a half. My students are sweating out there, and it's not even hot right now. So yes, I do get frustrated when individuals speak and say we don't need more money. However, I understand those individuals looking outside in and not right there in the fight, because teachers are in the fight to protect and save our children. If our children are not properly educated, these companies who are coming in to provide the proper, better paying jobs are not going to hire our students. Why? Because their aptitude is not going to be able to handle those entry-level jobs. Therefore, what they're going to do is outsource those better paying jobs to someone outside the state, which will go right back to Nevada. Nevadans not having jobs, perpetuating the unemployment system.
Thank you. Question for both of you. Aside from federal assistance, how can Nevada help veterans obtain low-interest loans on business startups and other ventures that will grow the economy?
Well, I don't really have, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a position on that specifically. I am against what we call crony capitalism, which is trying to pick the losers, winners and losers in business. I think the marketplace should do that, because whenever the inefficiencies of government get involved, there becomes problems that end up resulting. Our extraordinary student debt's a good example right now, where there's over $1 trillion, I think, in student debt, and we have all these kids that are getting out of college and they can't get jobs because there's no work for the colleges or the degrees they got. That being said, I think that there's definitely something for it. People that join the military, they give everything for our country. They put themselves in harm's way, literally. They work very hard and they're very dedicated to the country. So the country should give them the best or most advantages compared to other people. That's my firm belief. So I don't have a specific program to address your question, and I'm not quite sure what programs we do through the state that allow for low interest loans. So I can't honestly say one way or the other.
My solution to that for the small businesses in our community, which are our lifeline, how about we put together what you call a job co-op? Are you guys familiar with that? job co-op for those who are not. You take a high school student who's near their graduation, junior, senior, and they work their tier 2 classes during percentage of the day. And the last couple of periods, they go and work in a small business company, i.e. insurance company, i.e. a dry cleaning business, or whatever small business that's putting money in that community. Give that child in that business the opportunity to help educate that student in the next higher learning. And that also can help with tax cuts within our community.
Good afternoon. So both of you can answer this question. It's very brief. How do you suppose we address the mental health disparity that we face here in Southern Nevada? And we have the highest suicide rate in individuals over the age of 65. And as a business owner, I would think that you can relate to this. Sometimes it has to do with lack of financial literacy. They outlive their retirement, and there's depression that sets in. So what would you do, being in a position of this government, to change that?
You know, mental health is a very difficult thing to address because recently the solution's been just put people on more drugs, Ambien, Xanax, Prolopt or something, or Zoloft, etc. And yet, when we have these mass shootings and mass killings, it's found out almost 100% of the time these kids are on psychiatric treatment and they're on these drugs. I think the reason for morale is pretty much what you hit, or the basic of happiness, is if you produce a valuable product and you contribute to society, then you're generally happy. If you're not producing a product and contributing to society, then you're in the dumps. So I think the solution is not just to drug our elderly people or people in general, but if we create a business environment which brings in more businesses that will create more opportunity, and then people can actually, if they are having a problem because they didn't save enough or they lost their savings due to the financial crisis because of crony capitalism and the banks, then they have the opportunity to actually find work to where they can feel that they're productive and actually pay their bills. And I think that's more the solution. So to the degree that we create an environment in Nevada that is business friendly and attracts businesses, I think that's the solution more than just drugging.
In regards to the mental health aspect, I believe we need proper programming. And what I mean by that is, I'm part of the Las Vegas Homicide Review Commission. And basically it's half law enforcement, other half business advocates and community advocates. The law enforcement side, to bring it up to speed, goes out and do crime mapping and find out where different homicides occur, why they occur, and how to prevent them as well as reduce by the crimes. The business advocates and community advocates come up with solutions, how to help these individuals get through a process, why after community crime. Right? It's not always because this person had a bad person. Issues can transpire in their life. You can lost a loved one, for example, to hospice, or a loved one through a violent crime and wasn't properly debriefed through counseling. What our city and communities right now, we don't have a proper counseling program here in our community to help an individual get through that transition from being suicidal to grieving. I mean, yes, we have TIP, which helps you out with a horrifying event that day. After that day, TIP is gone. What about next week? What about a month ago when you smell something, brings back the memory, and then throws you into depression? Where is the counseling? Where is the program for that? That's what we need. We have due process to help an individual transpire from that suicidal mind frame to that person who's able to cohabitate back in the community and be a safe neighbor or a safe citizen in that community. You don't have to worry about that.
If I could give you a magic wand and 3 wishes, what would you change? 1 at the federal level, 1 at the state level, 1 in Carson City?
First of all, on the federal level, is I would get the federal government out of our lives. I think they're way over from everything, from the NSA, trying to take our guns away, trying to overtax us, to really get government off our backs. And that would be based on the federal level, and let the states' rights. You know, we're a republic that was founded on states' rights, where that we were supposed to be, each state was supposed to be an incubator. For instance, if you like this liberal New York, then you can move to Texas, where there's no taxation. So that's fair. It's gotten way away from that. The federal government's all supreme now, so I think that's the problem. The federal government should worry about our national defense and a couple other broad areas as delineated in the Constitution and should get out of our lives. Carson City, I think Nevada overall is a pretty good state to live in, so I don't, that's why I moved here. So I don't have a whole lot, but I see the creep the same way that it's trying to get too involved. As a businessman, I see it all the time, whether it be the fire department come through, the Nevada OSHA, the constant just bureaucracy, the health department, they're coming in and just causing more effort and more fees and more work. So I would want them to get out of our lives too. And then the third was what?
One was federal, second the state, Nevada, and third Carson City.
And Carson City is the state of Nevada. So,
Yeah, the legislation, what's happening over there.
yeah. Well, again, I would look at it. Definitely don't stop the sunsets, which is more taxation. We don't need to tax more. I would definitely try to push for school choice. That's so big because our schools are our biggest problem. So Carson City would be the school choice, would be my biggest one on that.
Start with federal government, okay? Let's get rid of the red tape. And what I mean by that, look at Social Security. There's so much red tape. The person who spent all their lives working and paying Social Security can't recoup that. Let's think about the health care, Medicaid situations. Individuals who are on Medicaid, they're limited to certain situations. So get rid of the red tape that the government is putting, federal is putting so much on us. That way, when it's funneled down to the state level, there's less problem, and our state can also delegate and properly assess and provide the proper care to each combatant in the state. Now, at the state level, let's take the opportunity to comprise everything together. Use all available resources, because we do have resources that we're not tapping into, because we're not familiar with it, we're not educated in everything. Open up that other part of the brain, become educated with all the resources that our state has, put it together, and we can come with a formula and plan to better serve our Nevada citizens. That's in Carson City. Mr. Jones spread on pro-choice. I'm not so much for pro-choice because you take away the democracy from the public schools, which means you're going to weaken our public schools. What about those individual kids who can't get into those pro-choice schools? You're just going to throw them away into a public school that's not working? Like a FEMA camp? No. We should be equally educated throughout our states. No segregation. No, I'm better than you. No, this program is for my kid, and you can't have none. Equally educated and provided through the state. And that will bring our economy out of the dumps.
How you guys doing? Thank you for coming. You guys both covered crucial topics that need to be addressed, but talk to me about illegal immigration and how you can assist us on fixing that crucial topic.
Well, legal immigration is a federal issue, so we're running for state office, so and it's also very complex as well. But the truth is that many businesses use immigrants, or utilize, I don't want to say use, because that's utilize immigrant services, and when immigrants come here, they're usually very ambitious. I mean, we're a nation of immigrants, so I think we need to make a system which is clear and that is effective, and not just so that we can go by the rule of law as opposed to, well, we might want to enforce that rule, but not enforce that rule. We might allow this, but not allow that. But if we have a clear set of a rule on a path to citizenship, that would be the best. So that people know what the game is, they know what the rules are, and then they can abide by the rules instead of becoming illegal, as the term is, by trying to circumvent the rules.
Again, immigration is a federal level. However, we got to monitor because the states themselves are the power.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the state has their own power to do as they wish. I'm for documentation, driver's license. So if I am a law enforcement officer and I'm pulling over, I don't know if I'm speaking there. I mean, years ago, when I was working with the government, you would have individuals who would come and hide on the federal reservations. Why? Because the only people who had jurisdiction on federal reservations was BIA and FBI. Local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and other federal agencies had no jurisdiction. So they would go and hide out, do as they wish on the federal reservations until BIA or FBI was able to get these people off the reservation and keep them from damaging, utilizing the proper funds and stuff for the Native Americans here. So I do believe that documentation is needed, especially driver's license, so we can monitor certain things that go on through our state, because we are the supporters of our state, the people as well as the government. If we don't take care of our own state, the federal government is not going to do it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. My question is to both of you. With the way our education system is now, we do have some charter schools, we have some regular, public schools that the kids go to. We also have empowerment schools and career and technical academies. And I know that, Mr. Clark, you talked about getting an even education across the board, which is what everybody wants. How do we propose to do that across the board for all of Nevada's children to get the same education across all of Nevada without disparities one way or the other, funding it through the legislature?
You want to go first?
Sure.
A lot of things, one thing we haven't touched on since we've been here was youth programs. Where I came from, East Coast, we had several youth programs. And those youth programs took up some of the slack as far as educate. Those youth programs took up some of the slack as far as the educational part. So when the child left school, he had the boys and girls to go to. He had the YMCA to go through. He had different programs to go through. For example, gun safety, right? You have individual kids who don't have anything else after school. They go home and they play with their father or mother's gun and someone runs to injured. There are programs that can educate each individual that can be an elective in the high school or subsidiary outside as a youth program that can educate our children about gun safety. These are things that we need to tap into that are here, that some businesses will be willing to fund if we came out and spoke to those individuals. I spoke to a few businesses and they liked the idea about putting on a program for gun safety for the kids. Some gun ranges, small business gun ranges, they put on a education for how to properly use a firearm. Guns do not kill people. Individuals who have lack of knowledge of weapons kill people. Education of handling and operating a weapon will reduce gun trafficking in our country, in our state, in our community. So basically, more youth programs that can be put together as volunteers. I'm a mentor of one youth program, was the All-American Youth Football League. And we take young men who may be lost, who may not have that father figured in their home, and we give them the discipline, the opportunity to say, here, there's something else other than being on the street slinging drugs, out there running around after curfew, or going out there and getting yourself involved with illicit drugs or something that's negative instead of positive. If it wasn't for youth programs when I was growing up, I could have went either way. I mean, I was able to get a football scholarship and playing Little League football to a private high school was on the same status as Bishop Ford. In that same stand, I was able to improve my athletic skills and able to go to college on a football scholarship. These programs, which can be volunteer, because I'm pretty sure a lot of our business owners would love to give their time for volunteers. I mean, I know police officers, deputy marshals, they go out after work on their days off, spend their own money, put together programs to help the kids. Why? Because they'd rather help a child than put handcuffs on a child. They want to see a child free than incarcerated. Do you know that we spend $40,000 to incarcerate an inmate and only $8,000 to educate a child? Where's that logic and sense coming from? I don't, it's asinine to me.
Okay, on that issue, school choice. Mr. Clark made the reference that he wants everything even. Our country became the greatest country on the earth because of accountability and initiative. With the unions as they are now, there's no accountability for teachers. You can't discipline them. You can't make sure that they're performing. School choice creates competition, which then allows the best to rise. And unfortunately, without school choice, it is the disadvantaged and the lower income people that are harmed, because if they're stuck in a school that's not performing, they have no choices. Example, right now there's a big uprise in New York because de Blasio was a very liberal New York governor, tried to get rid of the charter schools. And just last weekend, my cousin was out from New York, and she said, that guy's trying to get rid of my charter school, and she's all upset, but she's been a liberal Democrat all her life. But now that they're trying to take the charter school, which takes these students who come from low-income families and disadvantaged families and makes them actually perform at rates much higher than the traditional schools, is because of the competition. Because if you go to that school and your child's not performing at that school, you can go to another school then, and that child will perform. Same thing happened in New Orleans. After Katrina came through and wiped out the schools, they had to go charter schools, and all the educationals went way up, the production standards, because the charter schools competed. If they're not effective, they go by the wayside. Just like me and my company. If I make a bottle of water that's defective, the cap's off, it doesn't work, it's whatever, I don't get repeat customers. So school choice is the solution because it puts in accountability and responsibility into the system. And you as a parent then can send your child where you know they'll get a good education, as opposed to being locked in this dumbing down system where it goes to the lowest denominator instead of pushing for excellence, which our country is founded on, excellence, not go down. Communism is let's do the least amount and bring everybody down to the lowest denominator. The United States was built on let's bring everybody up to the highest level possible. And that's why it's so imperative that we get school choice. And in fact, studies have been shown everywhere they do school choice, the results are phenomenal, and the scores and whatnot go up.
To go back on that.
Actually, let's go to the next question. Next panel question.
Hello. You guys both seem very civil liberty oriented to me, so the usual questions I've been asking, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. There was a contention around the mortgage cost tax that I was highly involved in, and the legislature actually kicked the can down to the county commission to make that decision. And the issue was, from my point of view, that we are paying next year up to $6 million in liability insurance, coming from $1 million on average the last few years. And we are also paying out heavily in lawsuits due to interactions with police officers that didn't turn out very well. So my concern was that Gillespie had renegotiated the contract with the body cameras that would have brought some accountability that maybe would have lowered those numbers according to studies that do implement those kind of programs. As a legislator, where do you see bringing some accountability and kind of reining in? Then maybe we don't have to raise taxes and to get our police force what they need, but lower the liability side. If that makes any sense. Sorry.
If I can take the lead on that. First thing is the recruiting process. All right? Some of the recruiting process for law enforcement officers are not good. That's the first thing. I mean, some people get in because they know somebody, some people get in because whatever the issue. The next thing is proper education. And going back to being a member of the Homicide Review Committee, the reason I'm stressing on this is because we was taking information from all the crime mapping and incidents that happened with violent crimes, officer-involved shootings, and study what can be used to prevent these things. We have a lot of these ideas which can be used to educate each officer, not only patrolling, but go as high as the captain who's running that unit. It goes back to educating each individual. The body cam will help, but however, there's always a way you can circumvent something. We started off with the dash cam. You know, you throw the lights on and you record what's going on. Right? I do a step out of a certain angle of the view, or disconnected mic, there's nothing being said, you can't see anything. Same thing with the body cam, all right? It can be disabled in ways that everything may not be observed, but it will bring some accountability. But the most thing is, when you have an educated person who's in charge of somebody's life and in charge of making right decisions, then you would have less lawsuits. They would say, okay, what if I did this? What would the outcome be? When I worked as a law enforcement officer, I started 2 years as a patrol officer, got lucky with the plain clothes and so on with the federal government working. However, I was put in situations, not only my life was in danger, but I had to think about the situation of others. For example, I remember this, if it's yesterday, I was working on a undercover scheme where we were buying illegal guns. And the reason they have, Mr. Jones, those strict laws on the East Coast, because black chartered guns are more so sold than drugs. So that's why they're strict in New Jersey, New York, on the East Coast like that. Out here, it's a little bit different because individuals on this side of the region has understanding about guns and stuff. Now to go back.
Charles, we're gonna have to wrap up your, normally answers limited a minute, but you can wrap up.
All right, to go back to that, I could make a decision to buy these guns, maybe get in a shootout and kill innocent people in the area. I decided to back off and take the investigation further and later apprehend the subject. Just having that moment to step back and think comes from a person who has the competence, not somebody that he may be working for the department and just got in, who don't have a sense of how to tie a shoe. We need competent officers first, and that will cut down on our frivolous lawsuits from the citizens and other people.
Okay, if I think the question is that why is the liability up so high, and do we spot or support cameras on the individual officers? Is that the basic question? Okay. We all know that somehow Las Vegas has got to know where shoot first, ask questions second. And in fact, I've heard that the FBI is even investigating because we have such rates. I think that, first of all, it's just like my company. It starts at the top. If the culture is, from the top down, is shoot first, ask questions second, then that's what the result is. But as far as accountability goes, I'm totally for accountability and responsibility. And Mr. Clark mentioned, well, they just turn the cameras off. Well, then somebody should be disciplined if they turn the cameras off. We worry about Big Brother in some aspects that we're watched on all areas, but it's proven that actually people with video cameras and stuff show police brutality. Now, police, I'm positive most policemen are awesome. They're there for a good purpose. They want to really help people, make society a better place. However, there are a few bad apples. And if we can find those due to cameras and stuff, I'm all for that, because then people will be more responsible. If they know they're on camera, they act more responsible. Sure, sometimes somebody gets flipped off or told they're wrong, and as a policeman, that's an assault against you. But if you know there's a camera watching, then you'll be more civil. You'll act more professional, which is what we want. So I'm completely for that. And the solution is if they're turning the cameras off, then they need to be disciplined and said, you can't turn the camera off. You got to leave it on. New York just did a thing. It's kind of ironic. They put out a thing on Instagram saying, please show us pictures of our officers doing good things. Well, what they did is they got inundated with pictures of their officers doing bad things. And then there came up, LA did the same thing and followed suit. So unfortunately, there are bad apples, and to the degree that the society has confidence that they won't be the bad apples, then we will trust our law officers better, we'll trust our force, and they won't be looked at as a negative, they'll be looked at as a positive.
I'm going to ask about the homelessness issue, and as far as specifically squatter rights in the state of Nevada. Something that's come up recently in other states. What really brings it home to me specifically is military being gone for several months. They come back and find somebody living in their home and are forced to spend money, go get a court order, get the eviction done. What are your guys' opinions on squatters, homeless, breaking into people's homes or foreclosed homes? Do you support some type of law at the state level that would diminish those abilities for somebody who is illegally in a home for any length of time from being there, making it illegal, not giving them squatter rights?
I always support legislation for that. The reason being, we pay too much for our homes as it is. And of course, some reason we are trying to sell a home and an individual breaks in and squatters and that makes the property value goes down a little bit. Property value goes down, that means the business got to pick up that tax. All the properties start going down, business try to consume that tax, they're not going to make any money, so they're going to move out. So yes, I do support some kind of regulations to deter the squatting and breaking homes on vacant homes.
Well, property is pretty much a fundamental right. To have the rights of your property, and through the rule of law, you should be able to have your property. It should be your property. Now, I don't know specifically on squatter rights because I haven't looked at that issue, but I know we do have an unlawful detainer, which can get people out of your house pretty quickly if they're in there inappropriately. I think within 20 days or something like that is what it is. So I haven't studied the actual squatter's right issue, but I do believe in the fundamental right. If you own a piece of property, that should be your property.
All right. Again, thanks both for coming here. I know it's been long for us too. So let me just ask you, Mr. Clark, you already know what Mr. Jones's views are on this. The Education Initiative, DEA, Question 3, margins tax, will be on the ballot here, and if it were not to pass, there'll be a lot of pressure on the legislature to try to fill some funding void that may or may not be there. Would you be supportive of a sales tax on services or some other form of taxation to fill that funding void?
Sales tax, I would look into. I'm not familiar with as much about it. But mostly what I feel is a lot of our resources for the school are being outsourced. If we get rid of the middleman, so to speak, just outsourcing the funds, that'll free up some funds that we go back into the school. The sales tax on services, small percentage, would help as an addendum to our school support. So I would kind of be supportive if it's a small percentage, but nothing that much, because we all have to make a dollar something work. To put a large tax on a business, or just a service tax, you don't want to deter people away from it.
So Tom, you don't even want to ask something to me?
No.
Hey Tom, by the way, I missed seeing your signs with your big face on Southern Highlands. Just Tom ran 80-35 last cycle.
So, Mr. Clark, were you for or against the margins tax?
Actually, I'm kind of against the motion.
Okay. All right. Are you for or against campus carry?
Campus carry?
With the concealed carry permit, like you're probably surrounded by a bunch of them right now. And are you for or against on the campuses?
I'm for everywhere they do their own. Also, like I stated before, guns don't kill people. Incompetent individuals with guns kill people. So therefore, if we don't go and prove campus carry, I should advise that it should be more stringent with education so that individuals will know how to properly carry a firearm, properly use a firearm, and scenario should be added as well so they don't shoot and shoot scenario. Same thing with police officers. They don't have to go through a large stringent of it, but something so they have an idea of when to put out everything.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones, I'd like you to answer the same question. Do you support or not support campus carry and why?
I support the use of guns anyway. We have shut. The Second Amendment is very clear. It's been watered down tremendously over the years, and I'm a constitutional conservative, so I support it. Right.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have any other questions from the panel? Any questions from the audience? Gentlemen, thank you for your time. We appreciate your